We need it. Like oxygen. It's why we breathe it. Like water. Like a fox. Like a fox. Like a fox.
And so those are great tips on that. But I know some of the feedback that we were getting that was kind of the impetus behind this live podcast, live event was entrepreneurs want to know, what are investors looking for when the founders are pitching virtually? Are you looking for anything different than if you would be in person? Can you give some tips?
So I think one of the things is, there's going to be some kind of glitch, or something's going to happen with your technology. Take that in stride. We've all been through it. So I think you need to prepare. You just need to be prepared for that possibilities. You need to acknowledge a little the issue that you might have. And it is hard to engage an audience. I mean, even if you're in person, you're not going to reach everyone. So don't be so hard on yourself. I think you just need to be efficient. I mean, we're on Zoom. There's Zoom fatigue. So, we need to know exactly what problem you're solving, what your solution is. Why are you better than the competitors? Your market size, how are you going to accomplish your goals? Be ready for those questions and just be as authentic and clear as you can.
Mario, any tips on yours?
I think what Gina just said, I agree with it. And things really haven't changed from what an investor is looking for. So the same aspects of a pitch deck that we were looking at 6 months from now, 3 months ago, is the same as what we're looking for right now. Gina mentioned them, and it's just a little bit more difficult on the face to face. But again, with things like Zoom, you can get the facial expressions, you can get the body language. So and there's investors that just don't like this virtual aspect. And I'm not sure that's going to change for those individuals, but most investors are very much open to a virtual discussion and presentation.
Now, without naming names, and so we got to get some dirt here, can you give us some examples of what not to do when you're pitching? Surely you've seen some bad ones.
Oh, I'll take this one, Gina.
Mario.
You were chomping at the bit to go there. Go ahead, Mario.
There's a lot of things. So when somebody pitches and they're what comes out of their presentation, right? So we, as investors, we can't get into every details in 10 minutes or 20 minutes. Okay, so it's really more of a perception. So if someone comes across and says, "I have no competition," there is no competition. I'm the only one out there. That's not going to cut it. There's no such thing as no competition. If anything, most of your competition is what I refer to as business as usual, right? People don't like change, so they like doing things the same way, even though it may not be as efficient. But they like it that way. They understand it, know it. So business as usual is one of the biggest competitions. Unrealistic revenue projections. Next year, I just saw a business, a presentation where all of a sudden in 2021, they're going to be doing $5 million. So that's not realistic. And then the other thing is you've got to know your market, right? So if I know your market or your industry, maybe not the industry, but if I know the market better than you do, then there's something wrong there. So those are like the three things that I would give advice to try to overcome.
How about you, Gene? Anything different?
Well, not different. I totally agree with Mario, but just as an addition, I think a lot of entrepreneurs come into the pitch and they think, okay, I'm going to get funded. I got the pitch.
They do. That surprises me. I would come in going, there's no hope, but I'm going to give it a shot.
I got the pitch. I'm going to get funded immediately. And I think they shouldn't think that way. They should think that the pitch is to get you to the due diligence. So you really need to make it crisp and succinct and be clear. And all those things that Mario said, make sure you cover your competition. Make sure you understand the macroeconomic environment. If somebody comes in and ignores what's going on right now, and their forecast is something that was from 3 months ago, we know that's not that's not going to happen. So I think you just need to be realistic and realize that you're forecasting now. And even if it might not be quite right, just give us your thought process and why you think that way, instead of just saying, no, well, it just is that way. And, you should give me the money. So you need to have reasons to invest. We are looking for reasons not to invest. Give me reasons to invest.
Okay.
And if I may, Loralyn, can I give two examples without mentioning companies? So one company who I've known, I have not invested, but he was in the, I'll call it the ride sharing business. Well, right now it's not doing too well. So what he pivoted to is into the delivery business. And he's doing gangbusters. He's doing very good. And yet there was another company that we looked at. We were seriously considering investing. And we said, look, what's the impact of the COVID situation? And the reaction was, no, it's okay. Same numbers, not a problem. And we'd go back 2 or 3 times, right, Gina? And some of the response was the same. No, it's fine. I'm going to make my numbers. And what we're looking for is her ability to adapt, and pivot and adjust for the current crisis.
And in fact, just on that concept of adaptability, a few months ago, Forbes had said that creativity was the most important soft skill that young people this generation needed to have. And they've recently shifted it to resilience, to be able to adapt to the changes and to make do. So it's interesting, even in a few months, they've changed their perspective on what needs to be done. Now, venture capitalists are not known for being sort of the most open and easy to access, group of people. So a lot of our listeners want to know, especially in this virtual world, what's the best way to reach out to an investor? So people are starting to think about, I'm ready to fundraise, I'm a founder, I'm going to need some money at, X number of months down the road. What do? Do they just, pick up a phone call, jump on LinkedIn and say, hey, I've got an idea, can I pitch you? What do they do?
Jumping on LinkedIn and trying to pitch me if I don't know you is not a good idea. So I think the best way is to really surround yourself with your advisors. So the accountants, the attorneys, your service providers, mentors, other advisors, they're going to introduce you. It's much better to get a warm introduction. It might not be a hot introduction, but a warm introduction or a referral. That's the best way to get our attention. That being said, there are ways I think you can reach out to different people and try to help them, have them help you link in with somebody else, somebody that knows somebody. So it's always better to have a referral, because a lot of stuff just gets lost in the shuffle. And so I think a lot of the times the entrepreneurs don't research enough the investors that they're trying to reach. I think of it as the flip side of product market fit is investor entrepreneur fit, because if an investor has investor criteria, we have that criteria on our Jumpstart website, we have that criteria on our Golden Seeds website, and you really should take a look and do your research and understand what investors are looking for. I mean, if you're working in fintech and the investor you're trying to pitch does everything in consumer goods, that's not a good fit. So, that's important.
Mario, any comments there about as far as how to be accessible?
Yes. So first thing I want to point out is I'm finding that there's a lot of people out there that, or entrepreneurs, if you would, that don't really read certain things, instructions. So even with tech launch, we say, okay, if you meet these qualifications, then we want to hear from you. Okay. Well, we hear from them anyway. So when we realize that they're not paying attention or don't read, if you would, then it's sort of a turnoff. But being said, what I look for as an investor, my time is limited. So is the entrepreneur's time. So I don't want to waste anyone's time. The best way to get to me is what Gina just mentioned, is some kind of a warm introduction or a referral, whether from a service provider or another investor that goes on top of my list. And then also, I'd like to see a one-page executive summary. And if you can capture my interest in that one-page executive summary, and I even have a template, then what will happen is I'll reach out. You don't have to force me. So the main thing is, and like Gina said, get to know what my needs are or what I'm looking for or what I invest in. And by the way, what my investment industry needs are different today than they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So get to know what they are now.
The other thing, just to add on, I mean, we also do, Golden Seeds does office hours where anyone can apply, which is an informational session, and we're happy to help mentor. And even if you don't fit the Golden Seeds criteria, we can lead you in a direction that might be more appropriate for the size and stage of your business right now. And I think those kind of, we're doing virtual, so that was an event in person, we've changed to virtual. So there are those types of events where you can get mentors. I think Mario's doing the same thing, if I'm not mistaken, with Tech Launch.
Mm-hmm.
So there's ways to meet people without saying, okay, I'm looking for money. So I think take a look at that and try to slowly network your way in instead of, forcing your way through the front door.
And how about that fantastic intro by Touch Circle?